So this is Guillaume from ID Tech X, and we are at the ID Tech X show in Berlin 2017, and I'm here with Simon from Nano Dimension. Simon, you have some kind of interesting printing technology. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, sure. So firstly, welcome to our booth. What we're focused on is multi-material printing for the electronics industry, with a focus currently on PCBs. So printing a multi-layer PCB using both conductive and dielectric inks. So it's two functional inks which are ultimately creating this electrical circuit. As you can see, you can then use that to assemble your PCB the way you normally would. Here's an example printed by one of our development partners at Phytech, where you have a module of a traditional PCB. I can certainly have a lift here, and you'll see a traditional PCB mounted onto a 3D printed PCB, which essentially then allows you to perhaps have part of your this is a standard product, and for customer adaptations you may want to trial different ways that you could use that sort of base technology.
This is a modular approach where you can have a standard platform and add different new PCBs.
Exactly. So that's one typical sort of application that one might consider with this approach, where you can really rapidly work through your development process and do in a matter of days what might otherwise take weeks.
Can you tell us more about the printing process, the equipment you have?
Sure.
And how does it work?
Well, the system is it's an inkjet based system, and that means hundreds or even thousands of individually controlled nozzles printing these two materials essentially simultaneously, and there are processes to cure the polymers, and there are processes to sinter the silver nanoparticle inks, and essentially all of the processing takes place in the printer, and so that when the print job is complete, you can remove the board and move straight into assembling the board.
And this is the actual size of the equipment?
Yeah, so exactly.
A laboratory or a small R&D team can have this in the lab. And they can then use it to prototype their PCB.
Yeah, exactly. So things that would normally have a development team hanging around and waiting for a week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks, depending on what kind of an object you've ordered, is something that you'll be able to get pretty much same day. And so
what are we looking at here? Is that some of the output of the printer?
Yeah, so these are all, most of what you see here are traditional PCBs. So this is running from the Gerber files, the regular design files that is used in this particular industry. What has become apparent is that obviously whilst we can enable rapid prototyping of PCBs, we're now also able to start looking at three-dimensional electronics. That means non-planar, non-flat electronics. And for those sort of items, you can see here where you can start using your dielectric, your insulating material, as part of a structure. And then you're marrying structural and electrical in one and the same part. And you'll see some of the other prints we have over in the demonstration street area actually contain embedded components.
Okay, let's go and have a look.
We'll pop over to demonstration street, where you'll see some of the other directions, and this is really the contrast between matching an existing product such as the current PCBs, which are really flat,
yes,
and moving towards things that are really only possible with a 3D printer. So, for example, having a coil which has really no flatness, it's all circular, or allowing for an interconnect to curve rather than being right angles, or as you see in these two parts at the bottom, the components themselves are embedded within the board. If you compare that to a traditional board where the components are on the outside, the potential here for longer lasting componentry, better protected components, and also miniaturization. If you can disperse those components on the surface within your object, you can talk about having better protected and ultimately smaller products, in different shapes.
So your printer is not just making PCB, but it's really a 3D printer at the same time.
In a sense, currently our main focus is on really rapid prototyping of PCBs, but the direction that these technologies will be moving in, and certainly as you can see in lab conditions, we're certainly printing three-dimensional files as well, to an extent three-dimensional objects, and we foresee a scenario where you will be able to have also a range of mechanical properties. So if you want to have part of your object flexible, part of it rigid, and at the same time have it be a structural component with embedded components, electrical parts that is. So we see all of these things eventually merging and really opening new horizons for the design of electrical parts, and in the end maybe the whole part itself.
That's great. So what did you think of the show and how was it for you?
Well, this is a fantastic show for us, and we've now come to 3 on the trot. You know, we've been both in Santa Clara and in Berlin, and there's absolutely nowhere that compares in terms of bringing this industry together and bringing them into the same place. The range, everything from materials to technologies to customers, there's no better place to come.
Okay. Simon, thank you very much.
Sure. Thank you.